Om Sahanā-Vavatu Sahanā Bhunaktu Saha Vīryam Karavā-vahai Tejas Vinā Vadhīta Mastu Ma Vidvishā-Vahai. Om Shānti Shānti Shāntihi. Humble Sacred Sivananda Saraswati, and for all of the saints and sages of all the traditions. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, Thought Power, Chapter 2. We're talking about the laws and dynamics of thought. And this saying of Swami Sivananda permeates. He'd introduced it in our discussion Tuesday morning, which is sow an action and reap a tendency. Sow a tendency and reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character, and sow a character and reap a destiny. Some of us are familiar with this. We have a little story, something that can help to illustrate this and what happens and how it happens. If you imagine that you're living in a city, and you walk to work, so say you're a mile away, so it's a 20-minute, you see it coming. And we want to be able to see it coming without the story. That's the thing. But in the meantime, the story will help. So 20 minutes each way, something like that. And you walk and nothing is changing for a long time. And then one day you notice some activity in an empty storefront along the way where there's been nothing going on. And so what happens in the mind? Curiosity. I wonder what that is. So, and you keep going back and forth, but now there's something to pay attention to on the way. So you start looking for it, and I wonder what it is. So the mind will go into this place, and maybe some different ideas of what it could be, because you would really like to have something. Wouldn't it be nice? But oh my God, I hope it's not. Whatever that is. And so over time, and the activity continues, the building, and they're putting in some cabinets and such like that. So it's a store of some type. And then they bring in some ovens at some point, and now it's like we're getting closer. So maybe they're going to bake something or cook something or make something and offer that. I wonder what that could be. And finally, and by the way, just look at the mind and the mental activity and what's happening related to that. Is it affecting your thoughts on the way to work? Is it affecting your thoughts at work? Does it come in? So one day, they put up a sign and they say, opening tomorrow, La Patisserie French Bakery. And they're like, okay. They open at what time? What time do they open? And, okay. One free pastry for every customer. So you go and you order whatever you order. What would you order? Don't. Don't. I don't want to do that too. We'll say it's a croissant or something, a chocolate croissant, something like that. And it's just yummy. And so, do you check the time that they close?
Of course.
And then you go to work and, it's yummy. How many times during the day do you have thoughts of croissant? At least 15. Honest, yeah, at least. And they close at 6, and normally you're at the office until 6. So what time do you leave today? 5:30. And you have something. And then, if you play it forward, you see what Swami Sivananda is talking about. So, next morning, do you go? I mean, if it was really, really good. And maybe a coffee on the way, and maybe you get to the office a little bit later, which isn't a big deal. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal that you had to be there at 7 in the morning anyway. It's not a big deal if it's 7:30, right? And then, let's see, $10 in the morning, $10 a night. So now you have 20 days a month, $400 new expenses. How long before you need a raise? What happens if they don't give you the raise so easily?
Credit cards.
Yeah, that. And maybe some anger rises because of the... So you see how the habit is formed. And then day by day by day, does it become part of the character? Now, a year down the road, they put up a sign. You're walking in the morning innocently enough, and you're looking for your croissant and latte, and the sign says, "Sorry, we're closed. There was a death in the family, and we had to go back to France to care for the family." And so they're done. How long before you look to see if there's another bakery not too far away? Maybe you get a car, maybe you think about a new job. So look at what it does. Look at what it does. And that's that connection. So an action and repeat tendency. So as soon as that curiosity is there, and this describes, by the way, what Peace Pilgrim is talking about when she says, if you knew the power of your thoughts, you'd never think a negative thought again. If you really saw this happening, would you have that curiosity at the beginning? Would you want to engage in that thought action in order to contemplate what it could be and consider what might be good and what might be bad? Would you want to do that? No. Very good. So that's it. That's the masters will say to us, karma works a certain way, and we're talking about karma and how karma works. So an action and the tendency comes, and now the tendency is the croissant tendency. And then if you keep that, even just a few times, then it's a habit. And then it becomes a part of the character. So, and the character changes. So say you were known as being very studious and always on time for work, and you put in that extra effort and right and focused and really whatever. But now after some months, the character's changed, right? And so a character and reap a destiny. So it'll play into, so importantly, whatever it is. So the masters will say, it works this way, and they'll say, whatever you come to do, it's important that you do it. But don't get distracted along the way. Like this. Don't get distracted along the way. Most of what's happening is we're getting distracted from what it is that we're really wanting to do, whatever we feel our mission is. And this is thought power. It's happening like this. And it seems so innocent. But when we understand how it works, at some point we'll say, oh my God, these thoughts, they're so powerful. I have to make sure to really put them in proper grooves in beneficial ways, in ways that will bring peace, not addictions, in ways that will uplift myself and others, not bind me. because whatever it is, you develop a church habit or a mantra habit, it's the same. It's the same. And that becomes a part of the character. So the character becomes, say, more sattvic, more pious, more concerned with the virtues and like this. It's working the same way, both ways. Oh. You saw that coming. Doesn't take long.
Second word.
Doesn't take long. And then, continuing in the same vein, he talks about how the thoughts become the continents. He says like this: your face is like a gramophone record or a plate. Whatever you think is at once written on your face. Every vicious thought serves to chisel or needle to write down the thoughts on your countenance. Your face is covered with the scars and wounds which are made by vicious thoughts of hatred, anger, lust, jealousy, revenge, etc. From the nature of the scar on your face, we can at once read your state of mind. We can at once diagnose the dis-ease of your mind. He who thinks he can hide his thoughts is, Swami Sivananda says, a dunce of the first water. So I think the direct meaning of that is lost somewhere, but we get an idea. So someone who thinks that you won't know what I'm thinking is not correct, not understanding. He says, face is like the index of the mind. Face is the mold of the mind. Every thought cuts a groove in the face. A divine thought brightens the face. An evil thought darkens the face. Continued divine thoughts increase the aura or halo. And continued evil thoughts increase the depth of dark impressions, just as the continued striking of a vessel against the edge of a well while drawing water makes deeper and deeper hollow in the vessel. The facial expression truly advertises the inner state of the mind or the true content of the mind. And he talks about the eyes as well. Your eyes betray your thoughts. The eyes, which represent the windows of the soul, bespeak of the condition and state of the mind. Having the example of the masters up here on the wall, the different traditions, that's the first thing you notice is the purity in the faces and in the eyes, right? Again, he's wanting us to see it. It's such pernicious, so persistent inside. When we have these limited thoughts, these thoughts that are causing us to suffer and bringing pain to others as well, it's so persistent, this idea that it doesn't make any difference what I think. And he's wanting us to have some clarity about how it does affect, the effect that it does have. And that's the difference. I mean, there's no difference. Essentially, there's no difference between any of these and us. And they would say, we're all made of the same stuff. It's only the thought nature that's different. And really, our work, it's just that. The physical work, it really is best seen as works to uplift our thoughts, to bring a beneficial, compassionate, loving, kind inner thought environment, well-wishing thought environment. That it's about that. The more we're able to bring our thoughts from limited states to unlimited states, from judgmental to discerning, the more we're able to be in the flow and experience the joy, the natural joy of life. And by the way, the more we see opportunities instead of problems. In the same home. And then he also speaks related to the physical expressions, hand and other expressions. Mind is the subtle form of this physical body. The physical body is the outward manifestation of the thoughts. So when the mind is wrought, tied up, the body is wrought too. As a person of rough appearance generally cannot invoke love and mercy of others, so a rough-minded person cannot invoke love and mercy of anybody. Mind very conspicuously reflects on the face the various states which a person of intelligence can very easily read. Everyone has access to intelligence, but when we get stuck, when we get all knotted up and tied up in the limited thoughts, then we've tied up that intelligence. So it's there, but it's not accessible to us. Just to consider for a moment, you'll see if there's no fear, for example, if there's no fear, you can reflect on what is proper to do in a particular moment. Simple stuff. I should pick up Tao now. I should put Tao down for a nap. Now Tao is sleepy. So you can know that. But so you have access to the intelligence. But if there's great fear, you see, it'll get bottled up. It'll get bottled up. If there's great anger, you won't even see that Tao's there. Right? So the limited thoughts bottle up or tie up our intelligence, and they make it unavailable to us. And the intelligence really is for us, it's the discriminative faculty. Finally, it's the intuition, but it's the conscious mind, the ability to be present and to consider and reflect in an open way. So he says the intelligent person, meaning the person who's present, who's really present, is able to see. They're out of themselves enough where they can see what's going on with you or me or anyone. And the first thing we'll see is we'll see discomforts and diseases, and we'll see tics like that. So Swami will sit during meditation and watch the hands. And that will help me. It's just a simple thing. And that will help me to see what you're dealing with. Right? And then that will lead towards discussion and offering of practices, etc., in order to help to steady like that.
Swami. The word should.
Should.
Like, I notice in myself and a lot of times in other people that word can generate a lot of anger. So they're like, oh, you should have did this, or you should have done that, or like a lot of shoulding happens in my family. And
yes.
It seems to be really anger-centric. So for me, like, I try and say, like, what would be best in this situation, as opposed to, like, what I should do in this situation. Because then if that should thing, then it becomes more like doing something from obligation and not from love, and it feels like constricted in a way. It's like that word constricts me. It doesn't let me like love. I don't know if that makes
I understand. No, I understand what you're saying. It's very much personal.
Yeah.
And I could say that you should love. And we can laugh about it.
Okay.
It's depending upon where we are, that word should will work a lot better inside as opposed to someone else telling us.
Right.
It's a part of our mental atmosphere, our inner mental atmosphere. And the conditioning, wherever we are in our path, there's conditioning. So there are words that that are relatively more gentle and words that are relatively rougher. But sometimes using the rough words inside is very beneficial. So no one else can control you. If you think someone's trying to control you, then there's an out of control element here. So really, everything's happening according to our own karmas. And there's only one here. There's not an other. So if we want to relate to an other, there's the divine working with us with our own karmas, giving us the experiences that are needed in order to learn what we're needing to learn, in order to lift ourselves out of the knots that we found ourselves in. And so teaching opportunities and tests, of course, as well. If Kartikeya were here, if you read like that third line on that, what is it?
Each day except everything is coming from God.
Yeah. So that's the truth of the situation, and but according to our own karmas.
Right.
The more we're able to find the capacity to provisionally accept it, not believe it completely, but provisionally accept it, and develop an attitude of how can this be beneficial instead of why this is a problem. Because we can't control what others say, but we can control how we relate to what's being said. And that's the thing. So what I find is you have capacity to use proper words when you're talking to yourself inside. And so, yes, what you just said in your inner environment probably works better. But you do want to be firm. You don't want to stop. You don't want to give up. You don't want to be mean to yourself either.
Right.
You don't want to berate yourself, because the truth is you have the capacity to do whatever you choose to do. And if you stay with it, you will do it. Whatever it is, you want to change the thoughts. If you know the techniques and you're committed to do it, and you're firm in it, you say, "I will do. I'm going to stick with it until it happens." Then you'll be successful. And in the meantime, if somebody says "should" to you, maybe you can find a trick to like pratipaksha bhavana.
Yeah.
And to, instead of hearing "should," hear
what they actually mean.
Yeah.
Or
hear a beneficial way instead.
Yeah,
just convert it.
Oh, doing this is beneficial. When they say you should do this, and this is a benefit to you and us.
Yeah.
That's what should actually means.
Yes.
That's
So if you can convert that, if you can flip it inside.
Yeah, no, I'm like redefining should.
Okay. There you go. 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 It's actually everything that's happening to us is coming from love, and now there's such extreme things you just can't explain it, and it's so difficult in some of the extreme, like what's happening in Ukraine and all of that. It's so hard to say that. I mean, but in our day to day, we can see it more easily. Oh. The other concept we'll share before we close. He does talk more about, and the connection has been made already. He does talk more about psychophysical imbalances and the effect that the thoughts have on the body and the body has on the thoughts. He says, thought exerts its influence over the body. grief in the mind weakens the body. Body influences the mind also in turn. A healthy body makes the mind healthy. If the body is sick, the mind also becomes sick. If the body is strong and healthy, the mind also becomes healthy and strong. So some discussion about both affect the other. They're not separate. They're really inextricably linked. You feed the body healthy food, the mind becomes more healthy. You engage in asana practices, the mind becomes more balanced. You practice pranayama, the mind becomes more ordered. Like that. But also, when the mind is in depression, the body will become more lethargic, more puffy, right? So both ways is what is being shared, both ways. So it's important to see that to work on the thought environment, both thought practices and physical practices are required. And that those practices will also help support the health of the body. So for example, Jules, with the physical condition that you're dealing with, resolves related to thought and really, and I know that you're doing this, really actively working to intercept these anger reactions early on, and the same to convert them, to change them, to let them be sometimes, as you know more about the practices. Those help the healing, those help support the healing, because there is a natural healing process that happens, but we tend to stand in the way of it. So when we're asked to support the natural healing, it has to start in the thought environment, thought and the feelings, the emotional stuff.
Yes, like stress causes it,
Yeah.
Christian helped me figure that out.
Yes.
That connection. So anything that activates my adrenaline system, which is really high before, so
Yeah.
I'm having to rewire into a really feminine, slower pace.
Yes. No.
Which is beautiful.
Slower pace also in the thoughts. It starts there. It has to start there. So not so on edge, not so reactive, not so quick to go mentally to a certain place. And then tomorrow morning we'll pick up here. It says, similar thoughts attract each other. And this is a great aid for us when we get to the practices. Similar thoughts attract each other. In the thought world also, the great law, like attracts like, operates. People of similar thoughts are attracted towards each other. And he uses the maxim, birds of the same feather flock together, or a person is known by the company they keep. Yeah. Oh, what do we got? But also the thoughts. So when there's a judgmental thought being entertained, other negative, limited thoughts will come. Yes? So when you're involved in judging one person, it's easier in that environment because there are other thoughts available. They're coming about other people that are problems too. And in the same way, when you have a positive groove going, when you're cultivating these beneficial thoughts, then other beneficial thoughts come as well.
We also think stuff like, oh, I'm not going to help that person, and they don't deserve it.
Right.
Like, start thinking about it, like, oh, it doesn't
Right.
matter.
And when you turn,
I'm just going to steal from them.
yeah, exactly. And when you turn that around and say, no, I am going to help that person, because that person is me, and I must do it. It's the proper. When you change that around and then you act on it, then more of those come as well. Okay, we'll close for the morning. Page 174. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvairupameva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvairupameva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvairupameva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshyamamritat. Om Sarvesham Swastir-Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir-Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam-Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam-Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Akashitu Gabhan Bhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityur Mritam Gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shānti Shānti Shāntihi. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. And below Satguru Shivananda Saraswati, for all of the saints and sages of all the traditions. Jai. Stand for our